we spend our careers trying to fit with other people's visions of things. When you have a chance to do it yourself, you're like, I'm going to do it this way, because you've been dying to do something your way, but you had no input.
In this episode of An Appetizing Life, I'm joined by Connie Jackson, an actress, singer, and producer. She has appeared in Dreamgirls on Broadway, a recurring role as Elaine on the long-running hit NCSI, and plays Aunt Ellis in Ethan Coen's latest film, Drive Away Dolls. I wanted to start my earlier episodes off with my close friends, and I have one who I have known for, dare I say it, 40 years now. We were just pups when we met, but I just had to bring her on as one of the first people to celebrate her because she's just such a talented and beautiful person and just gives back so much to so many. So I am so excited to have on today my good friend, the multi-talented Connie Jackson.
My head is growing.
Your head is growing. How are you, Miss Connie?
I'm great. I'm glad to get to talk to you in this arena.
I know.
We've known each other forever.
I know. I was so excited when you said you had time to join me on this new venture of celebration of this time of life. So I'm just going to get right to it because this woman is so incredibly talented. And look at that. Yeah, take it in. Take it in. Take a moment. Because we don't celebrate ourselves.
Gotta bathe in it.
Bathe in this. I want you to bathe in this. So I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit in the audience, a little bit about your early years, how you even got into entertainment and, what drove you into that.
I started a drama class in high school. I've always sung, like my brothers used to be on the street corner singing and they would trot out their little sister. I don't remember how old I was, but I just remember little Michael Jackson was around and stuff. But my brothers would trot me out to sing, do a little doo-wop-y stuff with them. None of them can sing, by the way. And so, but after that my high school drama class, I had a great teacher. Her name was Ann Sinatra, and she is the reason I do this. She is the reason I do this. And I was able to share some stuff with her as far as things in my career, which she was, your teachers are always just thrilled when you can keep in touch with them and keep them informed about what's going on and what part they had in it. So, yeah.
And, I am going to thank her because we wouldn't have had you on Broadway on so many stages.
That's so cool.
And please, tell us a little bit about that whole Broadway experience. What was that?
Well, it's funny because that was a really cool thing because I had moved to California in, 86 or something like that. And the audition for that happened in that same year. So I had to move to California to get to New York, I guess. Um, there was an audition. They were in town. The show was in town at the Pantages Theater, which is in Hollywood. Um, and they were also having auditions for future replacements at the time they were traveling. They were on a world tour and it was going to end on Broadway. They were only going to run for a couple of weeks on Broadway. So I went to that audition. Everything went well, got a call back and all of that. The callback, which was at 8:00 in the morning at the Pantages Theater. So you're having to show up for this callback and be ready to sing at 8:00 in the morning. And I was there for the role of Laurel, which, she's the one that does some screaming along with, the rest of the ladies. And it went well. They told me that day that I was going to be hired. I'd be the next one to go in the show to fill in for whatever the first girl that left, I would be in that. And that took only a few months. I was in there like a few months later. Dreamgirls is it's my favorite Broadway show. So here you are, your first Broadway show is your favorite show. And that was another bucket list,
Love it. It's so
Oh my
good.
gosh. It's so funny that last picture you showed, the one with me putting makeup on. Um, one of my castmates at the time, her name was Retta Hughes, and Retta, at the time I didn't know her pedigree or anything like that, but she had been nominated for Tonys and things in the past. And was an amazing photographer. And she was in the chorus. She was the one that would conduct, when you hear the backgrounds vocals during a show, she would conduct those during Dreamgirls and stuff. But I didn't find out until much later just what her career was like. So it was an honor to work with somebody like that.
And I feel like I'm doing This Is Your Life. Yeah, I'm dating myself with that show. I wasn't alive when that show was going on.
I know.
But I have to keep have to keep the train moving because you did Broadway, and
Mhm.
then down the line, Mr. Phil Collins comes
Oh,
along,
Mr.
and
Phil.
Mr. Phil
Uncle
and
Phil, as we
Uncle
call him.
Phil.
That was like the job that kept on giving for a minute. He's just the nicest man. I met some more lifelong friends during that gig. Got to work with people that I never thought but that was really cool. That was a wonderful thing. Um, it's kind of like I spent a lot of my career doing casuals where you're singing somebody else's music, doing covers of everybody's music. And so that first day of rehearsal with Phil, all of a sudden they start playing it and you're like, oh wait, that's the real guy. You know, we're not doing a cover. It's the guy who wrote and sang the song. So yeah.
It's so great. And it was so great I felt like the proud sister to see you
Oh,
up on stage and performing.
that was so fun.
Yeah,
You
it
guys
was
were there.
very, very
Yeah.
cool. Just a little backstory. We have a group of friends that we have been friends for over 40
Ever.
years, performed together years ago. And like you said earlier, when we were 5.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it's such a special group because all these
Mhm.
years we have still stayed together. We celebrate holidays together. We, you know,
Mhm.
support each other in the highs and in the lows. And I think it's so important, especially at this age, to
Oof.
have that. I call it the second family around you. And,
Yep,
you know,
I do too.
yeah, tell me, what are your feelings? I don't want to get all sentimental
No,
and teary eyed here.
no, but that's why I love talking to you here because it's kinda like, here we what we thought was it was a summer job, at a theme park. And from that, and I'm not calling it silly, but just you think from this silly job, I got the majority of my lifelong friends,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And you're right. I mean, you would think, but it was a really concentrated existence back then because we were at the park all day. We were
All
there
day.
from morning to evening doing 5, 6, 7
5,
shows a
6 show.
day.
Yep, yep.
And then after all of that, so what are we doing tonight? After the show. So we spent all of our time together. And I don't know any group of people who can spend that kind of time together and they're still friends.
No, no, and that's, like, even beyond college,
Mhm.
it's not like
Yeah.
that, and it's just
And
such a
we're not
beautiful
just
thing.
we're lifelong friends. Lisa
Yeah.
is one of my dearest, dearest, dearest friends. She's like
Miss
my
Connie.
sister.
Miss Connie is my
Miss
sister.
Cody. But yeah, it came from that.
Yeah.
I have people ask me all the time, when we're talking about how long I know my friends and stuff, and I'll say, "Oh, I've known her for 40 years." I have one friend the one I've known the longest. I have a friend that I met in kindergarten. She lives here in California. We see each other every once in a while, but I you hold on to the right ones, and that's just what it is.
And
That's why
that's
you're
the
still here.
key. Oh,
Yeah,
holding on to the right ones
the
and
right
letting
ones.
go letting go of the negative, people that aren't gonna support you and lift you
Mhm.
up, and you lift them up, and yeah.
Yeah.
That is why you and I have been friends for all these years.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
All
I
this
just love
love. So, I know you have your hands in so many different pots because, beyond the acting, beyond the singing,
Mhm.
beyond Gosh, so many other things. Giving back.
Mhm.
You are an amazing photographer. You have
Oh
a
gosh, thank
great
you.
love for pets. And you have a great love for people in general. You're just,
Mhm.
you're just a good
Yeah.
spirit. I love it.
Ah,
And so,
shucks.
but I want to, given who you are and given the industry that you've worked in and are working in, and it's definitely changing. And I wanted to bring
Oof.
it up because we went through the strike and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And I just wanted to know, what are you seeing happening with the industry in general? Also, what do you see happening for women over 50
Oof.
who are trying to, still pursue this love
Mhm.
of their
Mm.
that they love? So,
Yeah. It's it's interesting because, the change in the industry, that train was already rolling before the strikes and stuff because you over the years, we've noticed differences in the amount of commercials. It all like, the first thing was, "Oh, there's a lot of non-union actors being at," they started hiring a lot of non-union people, which there are talented non-union people. I'm not disparaging that. But we started to see opportunities get slower and slower. Like, say, for instance, the regular thing back in the day was I'd have like 3 auditions in a day, which means, you spread that out in a week and there's like tens of auditions and stuff in a week. Then it dwindled very quickly, where the phone didn't ring for a couple of weeks or a week or this. And so, but anyway, cut to now with the strike and all of that, there's so many, with streaming, and there's so many changes that happen at the same time. You know what I mean? We're trying to recover from the strike, but because of the backlog, everybody thought, "Oh, the strike is over. You guys are back to work." And it's like, "Not really. There's stuff going on, but not everybody, the majority of people are not back to work, you know?
yeah.
And it's a little sparse because there's less, pilots being done where there used to be hundreds of pilots. And don't quote me on the numbers, but I do remember just recently reading an article where there's under 20 or under, it's like really low. Um, and streaming has really kicked our butts too, as far as like what people are making and what's available, you know? But
Yeah.
being someone in my age bracket, we talk about it all the time. I still love it. I still love doing this. But there have been the moments where I'm like, how long are you gonna chase this? Because it's kind of like the goalpost gets moved just when you're like, oh, I have this great team. I have a great representatives and stuff, and who have gotten me. There's a big shift in the stuff that I go out for, which is great. Um, and so you make that hurdle, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, they've slowed down on what's happening. Um, and now the whole thing is, I forgot what it is. You know how they do the little rhyme? We're gonna thrive in 25. It's like, but I'm not gonna sit on the sidelines and wait for, that's where you have to make your stuff happen.
Exactly. And that's, I work with women who are going through these transitions of jobs. Some are actors,
Mhm.
some are directors, and nothing's going on. And I was like, well, you got to create your own media company. This is, we've got all these
Mhm.
tools. It's gotten so much simpler
Yep.
to have your own channel, have your own, do your own PR. And then what I love is that you're in the midst of doing all that in so many different ways.
Mhm.
Um, I know you recorded an album,
Yeah, I
you
know.
are
Yeah, that's my song. I did.
your
I
song.
had never recorded it. I had never recorded anything of my own, and I did a single a few years ago with my dear friend Terry Wallman, God bless him. Um, and that kind of came about during quarantine. Nobody was, it was very weird to look at your schedule and not have anything on it. That was very, very bizarre, and not knowing when something was going to be on it. So I just happened to see a Facebook post from a gig that I'd done with Terry years ago at Spaghettini or whatever, and that song, we performed This Day. The song is called This Day, and, one of my friends Terry's wife, my friend Melanie, she just happened to type on, she's like, "You should record this song, sis," and I was like, "Hmm, you know, that's an idea," and then Terry chimed in with, "I'm in." And we started talking from there, because I always thought it cost a lot of money to do when you haven't ever done it, you just imagine money flying out of the window. But he did he's like, I'll give you a budget. I was like, give me an idea what it would take. So we did that, got some of, I'm still blown away by the musicians we got to play on it because I had a couple of my Phil Collins bandmates on it, Lee Sklar, who is an amazing bass player, Luis Conte, like, percussionist extraordinaire, um, along with Ron Walters Jr. and, John J.R. Robinson did drums for me. This is the guy who has who played on Thriller and
Wow.
pretty much every I know. He's that guy, famous drum riffs that start off songs, that rock with you. That's JR. And, we had strings and the, Tina Guo, she recorded a quartet, we call it a what does she call it? Tina Guo quartet, and, Tina Guo, sorry, quartet, and, but you just kinda go, "These people are on my record," you know? And, of course, Terry on guitar, so you can't go wrong with that, Come on.
And I'm just gonna, it's a testament to your talent. Like if you couldn't sing, you I don't think those folks would have shown up for you. I'm just saying, I don't know, but it is
And
a
guess what
testament
else it brings us.
and
Go ahead.
to who you are to work with. That you
Yeah,
are not a diva, you are
that's very
not
important.
difficult. It takes a team to make things beautiful and
Yeah,
sound great,
yeah,
and so it's a testament to you. I love all
yeah.
those folks, but I'm just saying,
Mhm.
yeah.
But that's very important. Once again, you do these jobs just like it back at the theme park. You make friends and you draw what you put out because like I said, these wonderful people, we became friends on a gig, and said yes the minute I asked. So, there you go.
S So do you feel like in creating your own things, your own outlets, your own visions, it really and I'm gonna roll back here. I sent out a list of over 50 words of things that might resonate with you because I'm working on a
Mhm,
project and I just want to get people's, thoughts and
mhm.
ideas. And so one of the words was authentic, which authentic has got authentic and authenticity, say that 3 times, has gotten a bad rap because
Uh-huh.
it's I don't
Yeah.
know how you define it anymore because people are trying to do too much, be too
Uh-huh.
authentic.
Yeah.
But do you feel like in having the ability now with the tools and all the things that we have to produce your own things, do your own things,
Mhm.
allows you to truly be your authentic self now? To do, not give a rat's
Rat's a
yeah, the rat. Not give a rat about
Not give a rat. Mhm,
yeah, just and to really let your creativity come through and shine
mhm.
and
Well, it's kinda like because as an actor, for so many years, and you know this, we we spend our careers trying to fit with other people's visions of things. When you have a chance to do it yourself, you're like, "I'm gonna do it this way," because you've been dying to do something your way, but you had no input with if you're on a job. You don't this is your project that you can let's just do it and do the things you don't want to I mean, that you wanna do instead of, "I guess I have to acquiesce to somebody's" you know what I mean? It's yours, and that's the joy of it, that's the joy of it for me because we've fit in a box, we've tried to fit in a box that it wasn't made for us in the first place, but we've done it our entire careers, And it's just nice to shake all that loose and not have to answer to anybody but yourself. And I tend to work very well by myself. I'm not what I consider a great collaborator
You're a lone
because I
wolf
like to
like me.
yeah, I like to do I don't like for somebody else to set
Yeah.
I just I don't work like that. I think too that's the Aquarian in me. It's like, I got to do this on my own. I don't need prodding. I don't like prodding.
Yeah. And you choose to work with who you want to work with. That's the other
There you
thing.
go.
You have a choice. You have,
Yeah.
you know,
Which is why,
ability to do
working
that.
with Terry was so great on the record. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think
Mhm.
also, and I was gonna ask you about how, with all this, it's a lot on our psyche,
Mhm.
this
Oh,
industry.
yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
people who want to get their kids in it, I'm like, don't do it.
No.
Stop. But
Don't.
I think what you're saying is you're practicing a form of self care of, in doing your own stuff and in only bringing in the people you want to bring in
Mhm.
and work with. And the people you do collaborate with, there's a reason for it, there's a connection.
Yeah.
I think that's super, super, super important. So, how do
Yeah.
what do you do for yourself just to
Well,
take
that's
care of
one of the
yourself?
reasons I volunteer for things. Um, I am heavily well, not as heavily as I used to be, but I volunteer as a transporter for a rescue. I used to be heavily into it. I got into it by spending hours on the network on the internet, networking dogs to get them out of the shelter. But now I just basically volunteer to give them their freedom rides out of the shelter. So I will drive wherever to help pick up a dog or whatever. But I also cook once a month for the unhoused with an organization called Homie Made Meals. Um, I make 20 meals a month and they have a drop off point where they distribute them to the homeless. And so because the business I'm in is so self-centered, I have to think about somebody else. Because otherwise you're thinking about yourself, "Oh, what am I gonna do with my hair? What am I" all these things that are just so superficial, and I just need to think of somebody else and rescue dogs, help people. I'm not thinking about myself in there,
Yeah. And I
you
think
know?
that's important at this age to
Oof.
find those
Yeah.
things you want to give back to and do and help.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
do that. I've known you for so many years, and you've been doing this, doing all those things for so many years, and you do it beautifully.
Trying,
And
trying.
it's inspiring, and you
Mhm.
don't feel so alone in
No.
in your endeavors.
No. Because you see it, with the world doing whatever it's doing lately, with the world worlding right now, um, it's so obvious how you feel when you're in these environments to volunteer and, give back and it, there's nothing like it, you know, because you're not thinking of anything off. Well, being homeless is awful, but you know what I mean? Help doing your part. It's something you can do by yourself. You can get friends involved. I know people that have little parties to make the meals for the homeless. And so, but I can do my little 20 and I drop them off and there you go, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
I
I,
love
I
it.
love doing that stuff.
So one of the words you also gravitated to was gratitude.
Ooh, yeah.
And I'm curious because gratitude, as I look back on my own life, we've been grateful. I have been grateful for different things at different stages in my life,
Uh-huh.
depending on what was happening, good
Yep.
and bad.
Exactly.
And yeah, good and bad. And so
Mhm.
I'm just curious at this point in your life, what does gratitude mean to you at this stage?
Ooh la la. First, I'm still here. um,
Amen.
yeah, um, cancer survivor, um, and just, and still happy and not willing, but I still feel like our 20-year-old selves, not necessarily physically all the time. I still glam. I glam now and I get out of bed. But I'll say I'm gonna be 65 in February.
Girl, you look
And And just to say
Fabulous.
that, I'm like, "Who said that?" You know? I still feel like me, a more educated, older me, but I still feel like me. I don't feel like a 65-year-old woman. I get reminded I'm 65 by outside sources, but I don't let that get into my head because I have other friends that refer to themselves as old, and I refuse to do that. "Oh, we're all just getting so old," and I'm like, "Nope, I
You
don't own that. I
we have
can't
had that
mm-mm.
conversation many a
Oof,
time, and it's like, I
no.
can't.
No,
I
no, no,
can't.
no, no, no." Because I'm a firm believer in what you say manifests itself. Whether you say something negative or positive or whatever, I don't wanna put that out there. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
already
with
enough,
you. I,
you
I
know?
completely agree with you. And you
Mhm.
you do start to slow down and
Yeah,
yeah,
so it's yeah, yeah, I'm just keep going. What did Dick Van Dyke say? He's like, "Just keep moving."
keep moving, keep it moving, all of that.
Yes. 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 Oof.
So, Miss Connie, what is coming up next for you in this new
In this new chapter.
multi chapter of your life?
I'm actually gonna get more into the photography thing for animals. I photograph animals better than I do I still photograph people fine, but I'm not like a headshot person at all. Um, am gonna do a project of my own version of senior portraits, but they're for animals, not just dogs, but everything. Because I love doing that. Put together a Dionne Warwick show to do because I love to sing.
What?
I know, right?
What's
I
this?
am. I know, right? Because I wanna go around and sing some that has to do with doing music you wanna do. And I've been a Dionne Warwick, Burt Bacharach lover for all my life, and so I wanna sing that music. So I'm putting that together.
I want to hear you
Um,
sing so many
I
songs. Can I give you my playlist?
love Yeah, exactly.
Can I put my playlist in now? I am so
Because that
excited.
goes back to the step talking about pivoting and doing stuff that you wanna do. All my career, I've been asked to scream. Yeah, I can scream, but I just love singing a nice melody, and nobody hires me for that. So I'm gonna do it myself, you know?
As you
Um,
should.
yeah, there's a couple of movies. I did a movie back in May, that is in post-production called The Sheriff. That should be fun to see. But right now, there's a movie I did called Camera. It's on Apple Plus. Um, it's a lovely, lovely film where an unusual friendship between this old guy that runs a old camera shop or an old kind of like a secondhand store, and the friendship he makes with this young boy. Um, it's a really beautiful, beautiful story. So that's out there now.
All right.
It's
I'm
streaming. Yeah,
guess what I'm
I know.
watching tonight.
I know.
Re-
And of course, the Driveway Dolls, that actually came out in last February, but that's on Prime. Driveway Dolls, where I got to work with Ethan Cohen. That was so much fun.
oh my gosh.
That was so fun.
I feel like there was a moment every time I turned on the TV, there was a commercial with you in it.
The
Popcorn,
old
Popcorn the
days.
piano. Here's Connie. That's
The
funny.
old days. I know.
It
My
was fun.
gosh.
It was
Times have changed.
Are we gonna break out into a little drum moment?
I know, right?
Oh
But
my
no, yeah. Those were the good old commercial days. So yeah, that's a big difference now for a lot of people. So, but I'm still chugging along. You know me.
you
I'm
are, and I
keep it
have
moving.
mad respect for it because you do keep it moving, you keep reinventing, redoing, reemerging, and that's what it's all about at this point of just,
Exactly. Mhm.
you know,
And in every aspect, it has to do with being me, being authentic, the real. Not the, "Oh, he's so authentic because he says everything that he wants to no, that doesn't mean that. It just means you get the real me, you know?
And
I put
I
myself
love
in
the
it.
real you.
It's the best.
It is the best. And
Yeah.
Miss Connie, let people know where can they find you.
Let's see,
Let's see here. Yeah.
Instagram at the Connie Jackson. My website is conniejackson.com. Very easy to find. I'm keeping it simple. If you want to see like my credits and stuff, IMDb, it's imdb.me/Connie Jackson. And then I'm on Threads. I'm still getting used to Threads. And it's the same as Instagram at
Aren't we
the
all?
Connie Jackson. I know, right? I'm liking it though because nobody's fighting.
Yeah, it's a friendly space.
It's a
We need
friendly
a
space.
friendly space these days.
Mhm.
I'm
Oh,
tired.
yeah. Oh my
Tired, y'all.
gosh. Okay. I just wanna look at pretty pictures and
I want, I
most
want,
I crack people up because on Instagram, I follow more critters than I do humans. I follow every kind of animal possible, and you can yeah, they far outnumber the humans, but
they're kinder and
you
gentler.
know, exactly. Exactly.
My God.
Exactly.
Before I let you go, I have to ask one last question for people out there, women out there who are thinking about making a change. They're thinking about a second, third, fourth act.
Mhm.
They're, redesigning their life. What advice would you give them, given that you've done it so many times?
Just do it because I am the biggest I'm along with me doing things, I'm a procrastinator. I am. Lisa knows that. I have a tendency to be a procrastinator, but do it. Just jump in the pool. If it's something you've always wanted to do and you're curious about, don't even begin to think that, "Oh, I'm too old for that." No, you're not. No, you're not. Just try it. Do it, you know? And that I mean, you don't listen to the naysayers, just do it.
I second that. No, seriously, you know how I am. Just
Oh,
do it.
yeah.
And if you know
You
what, if it doesn't work, then you try something different.
do something,
At
move it.
least you
Yeah, keep
tried.
it moving. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it moving.
Mhm.
Keep it moving. Well, my dear, this has been so much fun. I
Oh,
thank you so
no.
much. Everybody follow this woman and all her endeavors. Maybe she'll take a
That's
picture of
awesome.
your pet. Who knows?
I know, right? You're senior.
You're senior.
I love it.
All right, Miss Connie. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to An Appetizing Life. I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation. Please subscribe to the show, and if you've enjoyed this episode, share it with others. And leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, I would love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future guests and topics. So connect with me in the comments or on social media. Until next time, keep laughing, loving, and living vibrantly.